It began quietly, almost too quietly for an announcement of this profound magnitude. No blaring alarms, no official press release, and no emergency briefing was called. Just a single, meticulously worded message from renowned physicist Michio Kaku, published like a final contemplative entry in the diary of someone who has genuinely seen too much. And in that short text, delivered in that calm, steady voice he always uses when he is about to fundamentally change the entire conversation, he delivered what he unequivocally called his final warning about 3I Atlas, the third interstellar object ever discovered and perhaps the most unpredictable, highly anomalous visitor humanity has ever tracked across its skies. For months, astronomers around the world passionately argued, debated, vehemently dismissed, and often ridiculed the mounting anomalies surrounding this strange, stubborn object, its inexplicable change in color, its unexplained non-gravitational acceleration, its enormous powerful jets of gas, its puzzling vast anti-coma stretching nearly 3 million kilometers, and its bizarre high mass loss rate that made absolutely no physical sense for an object of its conservatively estimated size. But Dr. Kaku was meticulously watching the numbers shift in ways no natural comet should ever behave. And now, armed with new rigorous calculations, updated orbital models, and the latest images from Chinese orbiters and Earth-based powerful telescopes, he has finally stated what virtually no scientist wanted to hear. He asserted that the physics simply doesn't add up, that the observed energy required to produce the jets is impossible for a single intact natural object of that size, that the calculated jets cannot physically be produced by the nucleus we see, and that if 3I Atlas does not appear as a fragmented, shattered cloud of debris on the pivotal date of December 19, 2025, then the only remaining logical explanation is that we are not looking at a natural comet at all. This is the moment when the scientific world sharply split into two distinct factions. Those who fear that Kaku is demonstrably right, and those who fear what it would truly mean for humanity if he is. Tonight, we dive deep into the rigorous calculations, the intense scientific controversy, the inevitable professional backlash, the detailed list of 10 anomalies, and the final stark warning issued by one of the most outspoken and celebrated astrophysicists of our time. This is the unfolding story of the cosmic object that may soon force humanity to confront a profound truth we are not yet ready to fully grasp. From the very moment it was first discovered on July 1st, 3I Atlas instantly refused to behave like the comets astronomers have spent their entire lives studying. It seemed to come from nowhere, arriving from the depths of interstellar space, slipping into our solar system on a hyperbolic path that didn't match any known gravitational lineage. At first, observers saw what they logically expected: a dust coma forming, jets of carbon dioxide erupting, and a shape that looked relatively stable. But then came the highly anomalous behavior that no one could fully explain. As it rapidly approached the sun, instead of simply warming and shedding ice like a normal, predictable comet, its mass loss rate skyrocketed to levels never reliably recorded before, producing a massive anti-coma stretching nearly 3 million kilometers. To put that immense scale into perspective, that length is significantly greater than the distance between the Earth and its own moon. The Chinese Tianwen-1 orbiter successfully captured images revealing enormous powerful jets blasting from the object. But strangely, even with such violent sustained eruptions, there was no confirmed fragmentation. The nucleus appeared stubbornly intact, unbroken and whole. Meanwhile, other sensitive instruments recorded a distinct color change, a measurable velocity increase, and a significant non-gravitational acceleration. Three key traits that individually would already raise serious eyebrows, but together they formed a complex, unsettling pattern that scientists had only ever definitively seen in one place before. Oumuamua, the first interstellar object whose own baffling non-gravitational acceleration remains fundamentally unexplained to this very day. By late October, the entire scientific community was buzzing with nervous speculation. Something was fundamentally not right. Something was decidedly not natural, and virtually everyone knew it, even those too cautious and career-minded to publicly admit it. But then Michio Kaku ran the most critical numbers, and things immediately went from scientifically strange to thermodynamically impossible. Dr. Kaku is certainly not a man who casually jumps to sensational conclusions. He is, in fact, one of the most highly decorated physicists on Earth, a world-renowned professor with decades of leadership in the field of theoretical physics and string theory. So when he sat down to compute the precise physics of the 3I Atlas jets, he did exactly what objective scientists are supposed to do. He calculated the required energy output, and what he found was deeply disturbing. The jets were so powerful, so violently energetic, and so sustained that to produce them naturally, 3I Atlas would conservatively need to expose 1,600 square kilometer of surface area to the sun's heat, the equivalent of a 23-kilometer wide nucleus. But Hubble's most detailed images reliably show the object is no more than 5.6 kilometers in diameter. That represents a 16 times mismatch, a colossal, enormous discrepancy that fundamentally collapses the purely natural explanation. A natural comet simply cannot generate more energy than it receives from the sun. A natural comet cannot physically lose more mass than its exposed surface area allows. And a natural comet cannot possibly maintain structural integrity under such violent sustained outgassing without immediately fragmenting into dozens of smaller pieces unless it already had fragmented into a single cohesive unit. This is precisely where Kaku made the shocking, unavoidable conclusion that would fully ignite the scientific world. He calculated that for the mass and energy numbers to mathematically make sense, 3I Atlas must have already fragmented into at least 16 pieces, yet the nucleus appeared whole. Therefore, the discrepancy can only be produced by something engineered. Kaku did not bury the lead. He did not soften his message. He didn't attempt to protect his professional reputation. Instead, he delivered a clear, unambiguous, precise warning. If on December 19, 2025, 3I Atlas appears intact, we must consider that it is not a natural comet, not might, not possibly, not there could be a chance, but must. Why? Because a natural body cannot possibly violate the laws of thermodynamics. A natural body cannot break the sublimation limits by a factor of 16. A natural body cannot produce jets powerful enough to reshape a massive coma without visibly showing deep cracks and structural failure. But an engineered object, a spacecraft, a technological construct designed long before humanity even existed, that is a completely different story. Michio Kaku explained that technological thrusters reliably produce far higher exhaust velocities than random natural outgassing, meaning they require significantly less mass loss to achieve the exact same effect. In other words, a machine could reliably produce these jets without shredding itself structurally. This brings us to the most controversial career-defining part of his warning. If 3I Atlas is still in one piece on December 19th, then the only rational explanation left is technology. The scientific world immediately erupted. Kaku's statement didn't just cause routine disagreement, it caused open war within hours. Leading astrophysicists vehemently fired back. Kunyang Zhang from Lowell Observatory stated, "The comet looks normal and healthy with no sign of fragmentation." Brian Cox from the University of Manchester noted that 3I Atlas is natural and nothing unusual. David Jewett from UCLA argued the data was misinterpreted, while Chris Lintott from Oxford called the artificial label an insult to planetary science. And then came the harshest, most personal criticism from researchers publicly accusing Kaku of irresponsibly misleading the public. The attacks were relentless, reputation-destroying, highly personal, and aggressively hostile. But Michio did not retreat. He responded with a powerful statement that sliced straight to the core of scientific dogma. These critics are trained only on comets and asteroids. Add technological objects to their dataset and they will never confuse a rocket booster with an asteroid again. This was not arrogance. arrogance. It was a serious warning, the same kind given to every generation that has stubbornly refused to see beyond the limits of its own established expectations. And Kaku had history on his side, having spent a lifetime bridging the gap between theoretical speculation and physical reality. Now he was making his boldest, most consequential prediction yet. While the scientific community argued vehemently, Kaku quietly published his list of 10 anomalies, each one serving as a serious red flag pointing toward an unnatural origin. Non-gravitational acceleration, unusual color change, carbon dioxide-dominated sublimation, anti-solar jets possibly resembling thrusters, and the crushing energy contradiction requiring 16 times more surface area. Each one alone is scientifically strange. Together they are statistically damning, and the core scientific world knew it. No one wanted to publicly admit it, but no one could definitively explain it away either. Which brings us to the single critical date that defines everything. The world now waits suspended for one precise moment, the closest approach of 3I Atlas to Earth. This is the time when the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope will capture their most detailed, definitive images. If it is fragmented, the truth will be immediately obvious and mundane. If it is intact, the implications are profound and devastating to established science. This is the date when calculations will collide head-on with reality. This is the moment when the thermodynamic contradiction will face the ultimate test of the sky. This is the crossroads of science, imagination, and cosmic humility. If we clearly see fragments drifting behind the object, the natural explanation holds firm. If we don't, if the nucleus stands unbroken and whole, then the universe has just whispered, "You are not alone." As the world waits in intense anticipation, telescopes stand ready. Observers refine the complex models. Simulations run day and night. Some scientists silently pray Kaku is wrong. Others quietly pray he's right. Most just pray for undeniable answers. Meanwhile, 3I Atlas drifts silently through space, glowing, accelerating, and shedding mass. The public debate grows louder, the stakes grow higher, and humanity stands exactly in the same place it has stood 1,000 times throughout history, on the edge of a fundamental revelation. Terrified to look down, yet even more terrified to truly look up. The question is no longer whether Kaku is factually correct. The question is whether we are prepared as a global society for what it inherently means if he is. This is where the story stops being merely scientific and becomes fundamentally existential. If 3I Atlas is purely natural, we will breathe a collective sigh of relief. If it's not, if it remains whole on December 19th, if the jets continue to behave like controlled propulsion, if the mass loss defies the available surface area, then the universe is clearly telling us something profound. That technology older than Earth exists, that intelligence older than humans has crossed our sky, and that we have entered a new chapter of cosmic understanding. A chapter that begins not with triumphant contact, but with a quiet, unsettling warning, a final warning, Kaku's warning. In the end, Michio didn't issue his final warning to frighten anyone unnecessarily. He issued it because the cold, hard numbers left him absolutely no place to hide. Because the data, cold, silent, and unforgiving, had backed him into a corner where only two possibilities rigorously remained. Either the universe is behaving in a bizarre way we have never seen before, or 3I Atlas is simply not what we currently think it is. As the comet, or whatever it truly is, drifts inexorably toward its closest approach to Earth, the world stands suspended between paralyzing dread and imminent revelation. In observatories across the planet, scientists sit before arrays of glowing monitors, watching the object inch closer, pixel by pixel, photon by photon. They are waiting for the pivotal moment when Hubble and James Webb finally peel back the veil of ambiguity. For months, they've argued. They've written academic papers, aggressively dismissed anomalies, defended scientific dogma, and ridiculed unconventional possibilities. But beneath it all, even the most conservative researchers feel the same quiet tremor running through them. What if Michio Kaku is right? Because everything hinges on one truth, the truth laid bare, the truth no one has been able to decisively refute. If 3I Atlas is still whole, the natural explanation dies. Comets do not violate the laws of thermodynamics. They do not eject more mass than their surface can sublimate. They do not fire columnated jets without violently fragmenting. They do not generate a 3 million kilometer anticoma from a nucleus too small to physically support them. They do not mimic the acceleration profile of Oumuamua. They do not survive stresses that should tear them apart. But engineered objects demonstrably do. Designed, constructed systems do. Machines built with intents we cannot yet fathom do. And that is the profound fear lurking at the heart of Kaku's final warning. It is the fear that we are wrong about our place in the universe. The fear that some other entity, some intelligence predating humanity by millions or even billions of years, has already done what we are only just beginning to imagine. And if that's definitively true, then 3I Atlas is not a comet. It is not a rock. It is not an accident. It is a relic, a mechanism, an artifact, a silent messenger drifting patiently through the stars long after its creators completely vanished. It is a machine older than our species, revealing just enough to challenge us, but not enough to fully explain itself. Maybe that's why Kaku's warning feels less like a mere prediction and more like a passing of responsibility, a solemn reminder that every so often the universe hands humanity a true test, not a test of raw intelligence, but a test of humility. It is a test of whether we are willing to let go of our comfortable assumptions and genuinely face what is actually in front of us. And now, as December 19th rapidly approaches, humanity stands at a fundamental threshold. Either we will witness a disappointing cloud of fragments, the shattered remains of a natural comet pushed past its limits, or we will see something that should not be intact. We will see something that should not be accelerating, should not be shining with the cold, impossible resilience that has defined 3I Atlas from the very start. If the fragments appear, science will breathe a collective sigh of relief and return to business as usual. If they don't, if the nucleus stands unbroken, then Kaku's final warning will become something far more profound. Our first real, undeniable clue that the universe is not a silent, empty wilderness, but a vast, silent archive of civilizations that came before us. And perhaps 3I Atlas is simply the first page we have managed to turn in that grand, ancient, cosmic library. If this intense journey has left you truly thinking about what might be moving through our solar system, don't let that sense of wonder disappear. Subscribe to the channel. The next images could instantly rewrite the story of interstellar travel. Turn on notifications because the December 19th data drop might be the single most important astronomical update of our entire lifetime. And tell us in the comments, do you believe 3I Atlas will finally break apart, or will it stubbornly stay whole and confirm the warning Michio Kaku has been trying to give the world?